Sorry, I had my microphone muted. I got so many
No, no,
buttons
no.
here.
Everything is fine. We've heard you.
Yeah,
Ah, it
you
was
guys
muted.
could hear me, but they couldn't hear me out there. Anyways, Rabbi, it's your class. Take it away, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see you. In Jerusalem, we're in a war, we have a war, But no, no, it's really hard. In the last 2 days, we lost a few soldiers, young kids, young people, 25. Some of them also with families. It's hard, but we still have work to do. And it's brought me to, I thought about this a bit, more than a bit, and I decided to do something that is a bit different. I'm not sure that we will finish everything today. I will say it differently. I'm sure that we're not going to finish everything tonight, but I'm going to start a series of we're going to speak about a very unique person with the Mishnah, but I want to explain an outcome. We're learning Genesis, and one of the things that we're learning, I will say it like that. Let's start with the story. Now I'm beginning. Everybody wants a story, right, Mike, Angela and Mike? Yes. 7 years ago, I was invited as part of the Noahide world movement. I was invited to South Africa. In South Africa, you know that everybody is black, so it's not true. There are also some white people there, and we gave a seminar. In my first presentation, my first part of the seminar, I explained a very simple truth that the Hebrew nation that is bringing the Bible, and it's a very old text, more than 4,000 years, in the first 11 chapters are not speaking about the Hebrew people. The Hebrew people are not in this world yet. We're speaking about the whole world. We're taking responsibility for everything. God created the world. God created men. Now, we never said that, the Hebrew people were created first. For example, in the idea of the South African people, they were the first people who were created, and the rest of the world came from them. The same thing with the old Romans, with the old Greeks. Everybody was sure that they started everything. We are one of the only nation from the old ancient time that we're saying, no, God created one person, one man, and even his wife, Eva, was from him. So no one have any advantage on anybody else. And I remember that I gave this lesson and I explained it and I did it with the full presentation and a lot of things. And I was invited by a very former bishop, someone that was very high-ranked bishop, and there was a group of 50 people there, and he was very amazed that we do believe that all of this world came from one man, even his wife came from him, so therefore we are all brothers, we can live together. It's a question, today we're putting it as a statement of nations, therefore we're starting to fight one with each other. But the truth is that we are all brothers, like families, one to each other. And if we will look for a moment, now let me jump for a moment, share the screen. If we will look for a moment in Genesis, let me jump for Genesis. It is. If we will look in Genesis, in chapter 12, we will see that when God is nominating Abraham, what is that? Sorry, let me close this. Thank you. When God is nominating Abraham, okay, and he's saying to him, I will make you into a great nation. Nation is a thing that is fighting one with each other, okay? At the end, all the, what is written down here? Families of the earth will be should be blessed in you, okay? So we're moving from nations, people can fight. Nation is fighting one with each other. The normal connection between nations is a fight, okay? And they need to do peace one with each other. The normal connection between families is that they have, the neighbors, they have good relations one with each other. the fight is something that not usual, we'll say it like that. So we're moving back to become families because we all came from one father. There is an outcome to this idea, okay? And the outcome is being mentioned in what we call the ethics of the fathers. Now I want to jump for a moment to the ethics of the fathers, and this is what I want to teach in the next coming few weeks. It will be maybe 2 or 3 weeks, I don't know. Next week, by the way, next week I won't be able to give a lesson, but Rabbi Herschler will give a lesson instead of, okay? So we will have the lesson. It won't be with me, with Rabbi Herschler. Fair enough. But on the same link, yes, we'll do it on the same link and everything. The only thing is, what I prepared, it will be 2 or 3 meetings, so next week we won't have. I want to teach, first of all, the outcome of the Hebrew understanding that everybody was being created by God. And for that, let's jump for a moment to the ethics of the Father. And I want to speak, we have the ethics of the Father is giving a lot of ideas how to behave in a moral way. And there are few unique things there in the ethics of the Father. First of all, most of the people are being mentioned only once with one sentence, okay? Once with one. There are few people who are being mentioned twice in this ethics of the Father. There's a person that is a very unique one, Rabbi Akiva, okay? Rabbi Akiva, you see Rabbi Akiva? We had once Tony Lemon, if you remember him, he converted and he called himself Akiva, okay? Rabbi Akiva, you can see we have here 13, then we have 14, then we have 15 and 16, okay? All of this is Rabbi Akiva speaking. Here is already somebody else, Rabbi Elazar, okay? Rabbi Elazar. But we have 4 statements of Rabbi Akiva. By the way, there are few statements. It's not, only 4, like we said. And I want to, please, if it's okay, that you read the second one. Okay, here it is. This is the second one. And let me move it a bit here. Okay, please.
All right. He used to say,
Rabbi Akiva, yes.
Rabbi Akiva, he used to say, beloved is man, for he was created in the image of God. Especially beloved is he, for it was made known to him that he had been created in the image of God, as it is said, for in the image of God he made man, from Genesis 9:6. Beloved are Israel in that they were called children to the all-present. Especially beloved are they, for it was made known to them that they are called children of the all-present. As it is said, you are children to the Lord your God, from Deuteronomy 14, verse 1. Beloved are Israel in that a precious vessel was given to them. Especially beloved are they, for it was made known to them that the desirable instrument with which the world had been created was given to them, as it is said, for I give you good instruction, forsake not my teaching, from Proverbs 4:2.
So we have here 3, I will say, statements. But if Rabbi Akiva would have started from beloved are Israel, okay? They are called the children of all present. So you will say to yourself, he is a very, narrow-minded. He is speaking only about the Israel people. But he is not starting with the Israel people. Israel people have, I will say, some, let me close this, those things. Israel people maybe have some sort of a mission, okay, as he is saying in the second part and in the third part. But he is starting with this, that beloved is man, all human beings in this world. Why? Because they were created in the image of God. And the verse that he's bringing from Genesis 9, who remember what Genesis 9 is? When Noah is going out from the ark, and God is saying to him, no one have permission to kill anybody else. Now we're starting to realize why I'm speaking about this now. Okay? No one have permission to kill someone else, because in the image of God, man was created. So all men, all humankind, whatever it is, we are all in the image of God. We are all, I will say, bringing some presence of God to this world. Each one of us is in some sort of I said it once, it's like a diamond. Okay, if you know a real diamond, and you will look at the diamond after they polished it and everything else, you will look towards the sun, you will see that every side of the diamond, and usually there are a lot of sides, every side is giving a different color. Okay, so at the same level, all of us is bringing each one of us have the soul from God, and all of us together is bringing some sort of a fulfill presence of God in this world. And if someone is, God forbid, killing someone else, so he is reducing the image of God in this world. Again, Rabbi Akiva, he was one of the greatest rabbis that we had, and in a moment I will show you. Okay, we're going to see a few stories about Rabbi Akiva. We need to realize that he's starting with all humankind, and this is one of the outcomes that we have from the first 11 chapters of Genesis. The first 11 chapters of Genesis are teaching us the importance and the uniqueness of each person in this world. Each one of us that came to this world and got the soul of God, God gave us soul to live here. And this is what we're saying every morning. Thank you, God, for giving me a life for another day. We have a mission here in this world that nobody else can do it, because this is our mission. And this is an outcome that we have from the first 9 chapters of the Bible. We have more outcomes, we have more ideas that we are learning, but this is one of the things that I want to mention and to emphasize, especially in those days. And before we're going to learn this specific, I will call it Mishnah, this is a Mishnah, part of the oral Bible that we have, I want to speak a bit about Rabbi Akiva. I want to teach about Rabbi Akiva, because when we're going to learn about Rabbi Akiva, a few stories about him, we will realize how much this unique person that was giant, almost like Moses. Okay, he wasn't a prophet. He wasn't a prophet. Okay, it was in the age after the prophecy finished. I'll call it like that. But he was we will see in one of the stories. I'm not sure that tonight, but maybe even tonight, that he was a very unique person. And we need to realize from where he came and to understand the potential of each person in this world. So let's start with something that is not really known about Rabbi Akiva. And this is from the, how do you call this? This is from the Sanhedrin, okay? Let me go just a moment, a bit up, so you will see, maybe, I'm not sure that it's called Sanhedrin, okay? Sanhedrin is the judgment. The judgment, we have a very big set of book, what is the order of just judging people, okay, in the Hebrew tradition. So one of the things that we have here is a few statements about people that were very that were the enemy of the Hebrew people, and even though from their grandchildren's they were learning Torah. It's related a bit to the optimistic of the Hebrew tradition. I think we spoke about this 2 weeks ago when we saw the from the German army, someone that is giving blood to the soldiers of Israel, donating blood. And we said, no, that this is a cycle of the history where those who were enemies of the Hebrew people 80 years ago, today they are partnershiping with the Hebrew people. And we really, we appreciate very much the German government with their understanding and standing in the right side of the history. they're doing some sort of repentance, and it's very good. Now we have here 4 different people that were very the enemy of the Hebrew people in the Bible, and we know we have tradition that the grandchildren were learning Torah in Israel. So please read it, Dan. The sages taught us
Yeah. The sages taught in Beretia, Naaman the Aramean, see 2 Kings chapter 5, was a ger toshav, meaning that he accepted upon himself to refrain from idol worship, but did not convert to Judaism.
Whoa! Everybody here is same stage. Very important. Okay, he was an enemy. I will remind for a moment the story. Okay, he was with I don't remember the exact name in English. Okay, it's hard. It's a very ugly and a very hard. We don't have it today in this world. A very ugly disease on your body, and he went to one of the prophets in Israel, and the prophet told him, go to the Jordan River, dive inside, and everything will vanish. And he did it, and therefore he decided to become a ger toshav. Ger toshav, or this is the name in the days that we were in Israel, what we call Noahide today. And he decided to go away from idol worship, and he didn't convert to Judaism. Please, okay? So first of all, the first one, and then let's continue on, please.
Yeah. Nebuzaradan was a completely righteous convert among the descendants of Sisera. See Judges chapter 4. Were those who studied Torah in Jerusalem. Among the descendants of Sennacherib were those who taught Torah in public. The Gemara asks, and who are they? And the Gemara answers, they were Shemaiah and Avtalon.
Shemaiah and Avtalon are mentioned in the Ethics of the Fathers. Okay,
yeah.
In chapter 1.
Early Tana.
Exactly, in chapter 1. We have here Nebuzaradan. He was called Rav Tabachim. He was called the main the chief of the big enemies of Jerusalem that tried to from Babylon, who tried to conquer Jerusalem, and he did a full conversion. But we have also the people of Sisera. Who was Sisera? If you will go to Judges chapter 4 and 5, there's a very big battle there between Sisera and the Deborah. Deborah was the prophet, a woman prophet, and Barak was he was leading the army then. Okay, and Sisera, he was you can jump for a moment to see it, but it's in Hebrew. There is a story there about Sisera, and he lost the battle because God assisted the Hebrew people then. And our sages are saying that the destiny of Sisera, one of the destiny of Sisera, is Rabbi Akiva. Okay, the descendants of Sisera was learning in Jerusalem, and Rav Nisim Gaon, okay, in the Talmud, in Brachot, in the blessings at the beginning of the Talmud, he's saying that the one that we're referring here is to Rabbi Akiva. So again, one of the enemies, but along history, they are also joining the Hebrew people in this way or in another way. So let's learn for a moment about Rabbi Akiva, and let me surprise you, and I will tell you something that we will all know up front, and then we're going to read the first story about Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva lived 120 years. Okay, he lived 120 years. His first 40 years, he didn't know nothing, not even the ABC. Okay, until the age of 40, he didn't know nothing. He wasn't at all. He wasn't a smart person. He was we will see in a moment, okay, his wife, that is going to be his wife, understood his potential. But he didn't learn ever in his life until the age of 40. From the age of 40 till the age of 80, he learned a lot. In a moment, we're going to see the story. And from the age of 80 till the age of 120, for 40 years, he was leading the Hebrew people. It's reminding us someone else. For a moment, let me remember. Moses. Moses, we know that he was grown up, not in the Hebrew people, between the Hebrew people. He was grown up where? In Egypt, in the palace of Egypt, right? In the age of 20, he ran away from Egypt, the Egyptians, and he came back when he was 80 years old. When exactly he learned what he learned, how to become a prophet, we know that Jethro was his master for teaching him to become a prophet. Jethro was from the descendants of Abraham in Midian. So there was an era there in time of Moses until the age of 80 that he was learning how to become a prophet. And in the age of 80, he came in, he led the Hebrew people until 120 years, for 40 years. It is very similar, right? We are all together? Fair enough. Let's continue on. Now, let's see from the beginning of Rabbi Akiva that what the story is telling us. I will accomplish it from other resources that I have, but here we have from, it's called Nedarim. What is the word Nedarim? The pay, how do you say it? When you, it's like a pledge, okay? We have a full book that is explaining exactly what to do and how to do all the pledges that we're saying and exactly how to treat them and how to deal with it. So here we have also this story. Please, let's start step by step. Here's the first part. Please, Rabbi Akiva.
Okay, in connection to the above incident concerning the poverty of scholars and their potential to become wealthy through remarkable circumstances, the Gemara relates an incident. Rabbi Akiva became betrothed to the daughter of Bar Kalba Savua. When Bar Kalba Savua heard about their betrothal, he took a vow prohibiting her from eating all of his property. Despite this, she went ahead and married Rabbi Akiva.
So, first of all, this is a special part, a special book that is relating about vows and things like that. And this is why this story is coming here. It's a second reason why it's coming here. Another reason why it's coming here, I'm not sure that we'll go inside to all of this part of the story, but we are showing you a few stories how some of our great rabbis became very wealthy. Now, this was only, I will say, some sort of an opening. Now let's go in a much more profound way to start to realize and to understand what's happening here. Kalba Savua, to understand the words in Hebrew, Kalba Savua, Kalba is dog. Savua is someone who is not hungry at all. Okay, he ate so much that the only thing that he wants to do now is to go to get a small nap. Okay, so those two words, a dog that is eating a lot of food, is the name of someone that was so wealthy that everyone who came to him and said to him that he's a bit hungry went out from him after an hour or something like that, very wealthy. But he was giving it also as charity. He wasn't always demanding money for that. He was a very wealthy man. Our sages are saying somewhere else that he had possibility of feeding all Jerusalem in those days when the Romans circled Jerusalem and didn't allow anyone to go out from Jerusalem. He had the possibility of feeding the Jerusalem people for 21 years. So he was a very wealthy man. Now, I told you already that Rabbi Akiva, he didn't learn. He never learned. And he was, it's not written here, it's written in the story that is being brought in another place. He was the person that was a shepherd for Kaaba Savua, for this wealthy man. And his wife, Rachel, the daughter of Kaaba Savua, Rachel, her name was Rachel, just like in the Jacob and Rachel. She saw Rabbi Akiva, and she saw something inside Rabbi Akiva, the big potential that he had, this Rabbi Akiva. And because of that, she wanted to marry him. But she did with him an agreement. She said to him, I will marry you only if you're going to learn Torah. And Rabbi Akiva said, okay. Now, she married him, but then there was a problem because both of them were, I will say, they assumed, okay, that she's going to get from her father money and he will be able to go to learn because her father is going to give him, the resources of living. But her father was so upset with her that he gave a vow, and this is what we're reading here. Okay, he took a vow prohibiting her from eating all of his property. He had a lot of property. Think about this. He had the possibility of giving food for 21 years to all of Jerusalem people. But he said, my daughter is not going to get anything from this because she married someone very dumb that didn't, learn anything. He doesn't even know the ABC. He knows nothing. Okay? So now we have a couple, Rabbi Akiva and Rachel. He's not Rabbi Akiva yet, he's Akiva and Rachel. And they are very, they have nothing in their life. So let's see the story, how it's continuing now. Okay? Okay, please.
Okay.
Read the next part.
In the winter, they would sleep in a storehouse of straw, and Rabbi Akiva would gather strands of straw from her hair. He said to her, if I had the means, I would place on your head a Jerusalem of gold, a type of crown. Elijah the prophet came and appeared to them as a regular person and started calling and knocking on the door. He said to them, give me a bit of straw, as my wife gave birth, and I do not have anything on which to lay her. Rabbi Akiva said to his wife, see this man who does not even have straw? We should be happy with our lots, as we at least have straw to sleep on.
First of all, it's amazing. Think about this for a moment, okay? Let's go step by step. Yeah. Now, the Gemara is calling him Rabbi Akiva, but he wasn't Rabbi Akiva. It was only Akiva, some person. And they had nothing. The only thing that they had was a bit of straw to lay on. And one of the things that we see here is the good eye of Rabbi Akiva. When Elijah is coming to them, saying to them, I need a bit of a straw, Rabbi Akiva is giving him, and he is saying to his wife, we need to be happy that we have something. This guy doesn't even have this. I think that we said it more than once, that gratitude and I think it's very close to the Thanksgiving ceremony. I don't know how do you call it in the United States, that the understanding of giving thanks to God for the things that we have and putting a good eye for the things that we have and not searching for the things that we are lacking. This is something that is giving us more and more life and giving us more and more possibilities of attracting, okay? Law of attractions, everybody is speaking hope in attracting more good to us. So this is the point of view of Rabbi Akiva. We see this also in other stories. I won't go inside to this. There more something that I want to mention here. The term Jerusalem of gold, this is the source of the term. Jerusalem of gold. Okay, here it is. It's written down. This way it's written down. We know that in those days there was some sort of a crown like that of Jerusalem of gold. Okay, but Rabbi Akiva is promising her Jerusalem of gold. At the end of the story, he will also buy her Jerusalem of gold because he will have a lot of money. Okay? And at this point of time, we see that he loves his wife very much, that he is caring for her. He's taking the straws from from her hair, something that I don't have, from the hair that she have, and he's saying to her that if he have the possibility, when he will have the possibility, he will buy her something very unique and very special, Jerusalem of gold. More or less, I will tell you that it's some sort of a crown that after the destroyment of the Temple Mount, Rabbi Akiva is living a few years after the destroyment of the Temple Mount. When he was young, he saw the Temple Mount. So they did some sort of a crown to remember that there was a Temple Mount there in Jerusalem. Today we have a big fight and war about the Temple Mount with the Arabs. So when she realized that he have, we call this a good eye, that he's looking on the things that we have and not on the things that we are lacking, that he's not upset that her father did a vow, she's not allowed to have anything from the wealthy of her father. So she's saying to him, I'm asking you to go and to learn Torah. Okay? Now let's see. This is an amazing story. Please. She said to him, done.
All right. She said to him, go and be a student of Torah. And he went and he studied Torah for 12 years before Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yehoshua. At the completion of the 12 years, he was coming home when he heard from behind his house that one wicked person was saying to his wife, your father behaved well toward you. He was right to disinherit you. One reason is that your husband is not similar to you, i.e., he is not suitable for you. And furthermore, he has left you in widowhood in his lifetime all these years. She said to him, if he listens to me, he should be there for another 12 years. Rabbi Akiva said, since she has given me permission through this statement, I will go back and study more. He turned back and he went to the study hall, and he was there for another 12 years.
Did he spoke with her before he turned over? What do you say, people? He spoke with her or not? He didn't spoke with her. He heard that she's saying to this weak man, I don't know exactly who this man is, that she said to him, he is allowed to go to another 12 years. So he went to learn another 12 years. And then he will finish with 24 years. I don't know who from this story is more, I will say, to be admired. Rabbi Akiva, who was learning for such a long time, or his wife that let him to go away while she's very, poor woman. She have nothing. Her father is very rich, but he gave a vow that he's not going to give her anything. And she's working hard for surviving. And even though she's saying, if he will listen to me, he needs to go a bit more. He needs to learn more. I think she heard and she knew what is going to become from him. And now, let's see what's happening in the next stage. Okay, this is, I don't know if you know, if you don't know the story, this is a good time to start to learn who is. Let's learn a bit about our sages, please.
Eventually, he came back accompanied by 24,000 pairs of students. Everyone went out to greet him, as he was by then a renowned teacher. And she too arose to go out to greet him. That wicked person said to her, and to where are you going? As she was excessively poor. She was not dressed in a grand manner, as fit for the wife of one so esteemed. She said to him, a righteous man regards the life of his beast. Proverbs 12:10. He knows that I am in this state as a result of my dedication to him. She came to present herself before Rabbi Akiva, but the sages tried to fend her off, as they were unaware of her identity. He said to them, leave her. Both my Torah knowledge and yours are hers. And when Bar Kalba Sova heard that the famous man was his son-in-law, he came before halakhic authorities and requested the dissolution of his vow, and it was dissolved.
Before we go into Bar Kalba Savua, and this is one of the reasons why Rabbi Akiva became very rich, because now the vow is being solved, and he's inheriting with his wife everything from Kalba Savua. The story will continue on with another few reasons why Rabbi Akiva became so rich, and he brought to his wife the golden Jerusalem, okay, thing that she can wear. And other sages' wives became very jealous, and the other rabbis told them, not everybody is doing what Rachel did to his wife, to Rabbi Akiva. But let's go for a moment here. First of all, I want to ask, how many students Rabbi Akiva is coming back with? 48,000.
No, double.
Yeah, 24 double 2 is 48,000. Think about this for a moment. After 24 years, 48,000 students admiring Rabbi Akiva and coming with him. The truth is, it's an army. It's an army of students. Army of students. Rabbi Akiva is coming, and it's amazing that he is giving all the honor of his Torah to his wife. When they're trying to move her aside, he is telling them, everything that you have, everything that I have, and everything that you have is because she was dedicated that I will learn the Torah in such a way, in such a profound way, without all the, you name it, whatever it is, with all of the things that she gave inside, that I will be able to be dedicated for learning Torah and for growing up. This is another story. I must say it, I will say it by heart. Okay? I will say it by heart. The other story is saying that Rabbi Akiva saw the stone, and he saw in the stone, when the water is dripping to the stone, it is after a few years, sometimes after a million of years, right? It is doing a hole in the stone, right? It's not in one day, not in the first drop, not in the second one, not in the third one, but after a few years, a few hundred years, a few thousand years, the water is managing to break down the stone. Now the water is not hard like the stone, but the consistency of the water, dripping, drip by drip by drip, is managing to break the stone. And the story is saying like that. Rabbi Akiva was frustrated. I don't know if you tried once to learn when you're 40 years old, okay, the first time. I was teaching, more than once, I was teaching. You all know that I was a high school principal of people with disabilities. And it's really frustrating for students to learn in a situation, I will call it, where it's hard for them. Think about this, Rabbi Akiva, after 40 years starting to learn. He was never learning, he didn't know the ABC. So most probably he was frustrated. And he went outside, and he saw somewhere the water that is managing drip after drip to break the hard stone. And he asked people then, they told him that water, even though it's very soft, are managing to crack down a hard stone because it's called avanim shachaku mayim. The water is managing to break the stone. And he said to himself, if the water is managing to break stone, so the Torah that is also being mentioned as a water to the world, for sure will be able to break my stone heart inside. And he went back to learn. He had a very strong, consistent, I will say, desire to manage. And he managed, as we can see. 48,000 students came with him. But there's another story that I must say. First of all, let's summarize for a moment this point. Now, what we see till now is how much Rabbi Akiva. It's amazing to think about this. How much Rabbi Akiva, with all of the he for 24 years he wasn't with his wife, the love of Rabbi Akiva to his wife, the connection that they had, even though for such a long time they were not one next to each other, but they were with a lot of honor and with a lot of dedication one to each other in a very profound way. At the end of the story, it says that Rabbi Akiva brought out this thing. Just a moment. No, it's not. It's written down in somewhere else. He bought also this thing that he promised her. They had kids also. Rabbi Akiva had kids, and one of the kids also is a very big sage that is mentioned a few times in the Babylon Talmud. But the dedication one to each other, the honor one to each other, and this is something that we need to knowledge, because it will help us with the stories that we're going to bring, not next week, because Rabbi Shmuel is going to teach next week, not me, but we're going to bring 2 weeks from now, and to start to realize that Rabbi Akiva didn't only had a good eye, okay, that he was looking on the things that he have and not on the things that he doesn't have, and trying to expand them. But he was also, and we're going to show this in another story, he also had, I will say, some sort of a love to everything in this world. And it starts, all of this is starting with the inside family. When you love your wife, when you love your spouse, okay, basically you love yourself. This is something that is related one with each other, as we said in Genesis chapter 1 more than once, okay? Chapter 2, sorry. This time, let me show this for a moment. In Genesis chapter 2, I like to read this from time to time to remind ourselves, okay? When God is creating the woman from the man, okay? So please read verses number 22, 23. We're mentioning it from time to time, please.
22, and the Lord God built the side that he had taken from man into a woman, and he brought her to the man. And man said, this time it is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called Isha, or woman, because this one was taken from Ish, from man.
So we said, Rabbi Akiva is starting the relation, I will say, of Rabbi Akiva anymore, and we will see this, because Rabbi Akiva, we saw already, and I'm showing this again, we saw already that Rabbi Akiva have a lot of honor to each human being in this world. And it starts with the relation that he has with his wife. It will continue with the circles, we will see, with the relation that he have also with his nation, and from there on also to all of humankind, and it's also continuing on. But we need to understand from where it starts. So this is what we saw today about Rabbi Akiva. We will see more things next time, okay? With me another 2 weeks. So Shmuel will speak, we'll have a lesson as usual next week. So we will have, we'll continue on with Rabbi Akiva, and then we will be able to learn this Mishnah. And one of the things that I'm giving you an opportunity, okay? Go and try to learn this Mishnah with things that our sages are saying about this Mishnah. You can find everything in the internet today. So this is more or less what I wanted to say today. It's related very much to the world that we have today, okay? With the good eye that we need to have, with the honor that we need to give to people in this world on one side, to demolish the bad people and those things. So we're going to drill inside to this issue a bit more. Rabbi Shmuel, please, good to see you. Good evening. We can't hear you. You need to open the mute. You are in mute.
I'm okay. I'm there. I take it Rabbi Goldberg is paying a taste also to his wife, who's looking after his family when he's out of the house partially now as well. So it's a nice way to put it that way. It's true. Uh, I was very much thinking about that when you were talking, and I spoke to one of my daughters a couple hours ago, and I said I suggest to to take a day off of work and of military duty and to work 30 hours to fix up her house completely because she's been away a couple of weeks because of her husband called up. So I figured I might as well try to bring her house back into shape. So I decided similar in what you're saying. You know, sometimes, as you say, spouses help each other. So if parents can help their children in some way, it's also true, I suppose. But I very much appeal to what you're saying about her. I think it's true.
Fair enough.
If I could continue somewhat in the spirit, I was thinking of something else, but hearing what Rabbi Gold was talking, but I'd like to follow up a little bit in that direction. I think one of the beautiful ideas that they were 24 years apart and the love didn't change is because one of the beautiful things in a good relationship in the house is that you understand what your spouse says even when you don't see each other. You can guess very much what they think about things that you have a dilemma about. You can already guess what they're feeling when they're not present. I mean, there may be from time to time a surprise. One of the things I thoroughly enjoy is when I speak to a third person and I'm meant to say what my wife says, and I can tell them almost 95% what I think she feels about something. And if they follow it up, they found that they get the same answer anyhow. In other words, when you know each other well enough and you appreciate the other side's opinion, you are able very often to communicate even when you don't see each other, but you effectively are working together in absence. And as that beautiful story mentions, I mean, it wasn't actually 24 years consecutive. He was 12 years away, and then he overhears what she is saying to her friends that if he listened to me, he can go back and learn for another 12 years. Now, he knew that, but nevertheless, he did come back just in case she would say, well, stay if you already came. But that's not what she said. She said, if he were to listen to me, he would go back. So actually, it wasn't 24 years straight. It was 12 years, then a short visit that he almost came into the house, and he went back for another 12 years to learn. So it wasn't actually at once. The other thing is, the Rabbi mentioned, the question is whether 12,000, 24,000 pairs of students, whatever the calculation is, the Talmud version, Yevamot 62, talks about pairs of students. And essentially, most of the academic scholars start off when they're not married yet. And in the Torah type of study, very often you learn in companionship with somebody else. In university, it's less common. In college, very often, most of what you do is a lot of your own study, and also you're writing your own papers, etc. But in the Torah scholar, where most of the study is actually done with a pair, I have people that I learn with at my young age of today, also not 20 exactly this at this stage of my life, and I still have peers at my young age of now. And I think two of them, by the way, I've been friends with for, I'm not going to exactly give my age, but we've been friends since before I got married. And well, I'm only married for 38 years. So, I mean, it's not as if I got married yesterday. And I still learn with some of them. And there's something out there when you have very good friends as a boy or a man when you're young, and you maintain that friendship, it can survive so many things that we all have experienced in the course of years. And to a large extent, the learning before one gets married and learning as a good partner with somebody can be a good introduction before one starts to communicate with a spouse later on as well. As Rabbi Goldberg mentioned, Rabbi Akiva took the example of loving his spouse, and from there went on to his people and to the world as a whole. And of course, way beyond all three of those is the one who created the world. And as mentioned in Deuteronomy 6, when talking about the Shema prayer, there it says, you shall love your God with all of your heart, and all your finances as well, and your entire soul. And when eventually Rabbi Akiva was executed to death, and he felt that total commitment to God, even at the time when he had to hand over his life, it shows that ultimate love that he had not only to mankind, but to the source of mankind, where it all comes from. As I mentioned to you about the current war that we are undergoing, the thing which is most ironic about it is that October 6th, the day before the war broke out, we were still in the midst of when the temple was around, we were still bringing sacrifices every day in favor of all the nations. Our commitment during tabernacles towards the world as a whole, the universal message, which the Festival of Tabernacles suggests, is something that we did the entire week from October 1st till October 6th, nonstop. Started on September 30th, 7 days in a row. And the 8th day was the day the war broke out. Instead of them having gratitude for the fact that we have that special feeling towards mankind as a whole, similar to Rabbi Akiva's attitude as a private individual, those notorious people that we are in conflict with don't have a sense of that brotherly love whatsoever. And that's, of course, part of the frustration that, to a certain extent, we encounter. In the portions of the week that we read now, starting from this coming week, but essentially even started reading about it yesterday, we learned about the two brothers who have the same parents, not only the same father, the same mother as well, were Jacob and Esau. And the hatred that Esau develops towards Jacob because of jealousy and the sibling rivalry to extreme leads a person to say, I would just rather get rid of my brother. The only thing I still keeping together is my father. And I want to mention Rabbi Goldberg, out of the fact that you're still listening, something that I'm not sure you heard of, certainly was new for me. An interesting interpretation that I saw, since you have more wisdom than I, you probably have heard it before, I'm not sure. But in Genesis 27, it's mentioned, the portion we went yesterday, that Rebecca over it, I'm not going to bother Rabbi Dan to look it up, but you'll find it there if you want to. Chacham Dan. In Genesis 27, it says that Rebecca overheard what Esau was thinking of doing, and she calls upon Jacob, her younger son, and says, Esau is intending to get rid of you, and please, my son, listen to me and escape to your nephew, to your uncle, my brother Laban, and stay there for a while until your brother will calm down. Interesting enough, of course, it says that Esau was speaking in his heart. Yomer Esa Belibo. He didn't speak to anybody, and she overheard what he had said. How does a woman overhear what her son had said without him even speaking to anybody? So, of course, the commentaries bring that she had divine spirit. But if you talk about what we mentioned before about a nice couple, a couple often knows what the other person thinks without him even saying. And she, as an amazing mother, knew what both of her children were thinking about. It could be, of course, that she had the divine spirit, but I also am sure she had that understanding or mentality. Now, the point is that normally people say that what she heard was that Esau was saying that when my father will die, I will get rid of Jacob. But there's another commentary mentioned over there, and those who know Hebrew well enough, It is actually works out very nice with the words. I will say the words in Hebrew, don't get insulted. I'll translate them to English, but I like the original too. Because
Yeah,
if you
it's in
understand
verse
the original,
41 and 42.
there he says, Yikrevu yemei Evel avi v'arga et Yaakov achi. So as I said, normally they say is, let me wait till my father dies and then I will get rid of him. But that's not the only commentary. Somebody says, listen, Dan, you like this one, I think. The days of my father mourning will come soon for his son. And that's because I will get rid of my brother. Avel Avi doesn't mean that my father will die. It means that my father will be a mourner. For whom? For his son. That's why Rebecca was so critical in sending Jacob away. Because in actual fact, at that stage, if it meant that Esau would wait till Isaac would physically die, there were quite a few years actually that Isaac was going to live after that story happened. He was alive for more than 50 years afterwards. But what Esau was trying to do, although he had respect for his father personally, but he felt the time now has come because of his brother, who, so to speak, intercepted his blessing, that he'll make his father mourn for his loss of his son. And I'll tell you why I actually appreciate this commentary. You may like this, because later on something similar happened to Jacob himself. The brothers who actually disliked Joseph, some of them, and actually took his coat of many colors and filled it up with blood, came over to their father, showing the coat, and that caused Jacob to mourn for Joseph. The difference was, of course, that Joseph was still living. Not only was living, he became already a viceroy. So even though Esau's plot to actually cause his father to mourn the loss of his son didn't happen, indirectly it happened to Jacob himself later on through his own children. So I think this commentary is not far-fetched. And that's what makes Rebecca so quickly get involved to try to make a plan. But interestingly enough, Isaac says to Jacob, listen, my son, Mommy is right that you're going to see her brother, your uncle. But you're not going there because you're afraid of Esau, because Esau's not going to touch you. I guarantee you he's not going to touch you. You're going to go and get married. That's what you're going to do now. You're going to build a home with Mommy's niece. That's what you're going to do. End up that, by the way, that Jacob married Mommy's two nieces. But that was at least the original plan. So the difference is so amazing. Rebecca is sending Jacob away as a refugee, whereas Isaac is sending Jacob to be handsome with a suit and tie and now to get married. And who's right? Depends who you ask. In next week's portion, in Genesis 28, verse 10, it seems like Isaac is right. Jacob leaves the house. Jacob is not escaping. But if you learn in the prophets in Hosea 11, there it says that Jacob fled to the field of the Aramites. So what did he do? Did he leave the house or did he flee? You know what the answer is? They're both right. It depends when. When Jacob left the house, he was so inspired from his father. He went with the vigor and his full intention. And that's why he was able to get a marriage. You can imagine what it would be if he came as a refugee and looked like forgive me of saying, looked very unimpressive. I don't think Rachel would have been too impressed with the idea. But later on in the 12 prophets, maybe someday I'll speak to you about it, there in the time of the Samaritan kingdom, there was a major drop in the spiritual level of the Israeli community. And that's where Hosea says, you know what? Jacob was about to escape. when he left the house. When we strongly believe in what we're doing, we have the ability to win and to be committed, and things will work. When we are in frustration, God forbid, then we drop. One of the amazing things about the Israeli society in the last 40 days that we have gone through, you can see an unprecedented amount of communal assistance one for another. Brotherly love, unprecedented here for the last 50 years. And I've lived in this country since 1973, a month before the war in Yom Kippur began. This is when we made Aliyah. So I know the place pretty well. Unprecedented for so many years. When we act like that, nobody can withstand this. Nobody out there. And I would like to wish all of you a very pleasant weekend and week that we are forthcoming to coming up now. They even can, I want to end up with, before you fellows and ladies want to say something, even commercially, Israel came up with something very nice this week, and it gives me a sense of humor. Believe it or not, even in these days, we can have a sense of humor. You know, as Thanksgiving is forthcoming soon in America, and that's usually the fourth Thursday in the month of November. If I'm not mistaken, it's this week, as a matter of fact. I think so. And the day after, they usually call Black Friday because it's a business-oriented day. In Israel this year, they changed the name. They're calling it Blue Friday and not Black Friday. And you know why? I think because they consider October 7th a day that was black when the war broke out, they are reluctant cross-country to use the word black for anything commercial, and it decided to call it Blue Friday. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, more power. Be more happy, be more smiling, even do business when things are difficult, help each other to make business. It's okay with me. I hope just we'll be able to say the real thanksgiving to God, who will give us and the world at whole salvation and peace. That's what I'd like to say.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Hirschler. Such a joy. But isn't that the way things are in this world when we do something with zeal, and when we start out on a task and we're all excited and energetic and you want to get going at it, but then when difficulties come, you get a little, hesitant and indecisive. And, I've learned in life, you just keep punching your way through it and you get, make it happen. So we encourage the people of Israel to be united, stand strong, and be who you are, and let that light of Torah shine. It just makes all the difference for sure. What a wonderful lesson today, learning about Rabbi Akiva for sure. Does anybody in the group, Bart, Angelica, Angela, Mike, Solvig, Collins, anybody got any comments or questions they want to add or ask of the rabbis? Collins put his hand up. Anybody? Yeah, Collins.
Hi, Collins. How are you doing? Yes.
Yes, I got it. I'm speaking from Nigeria right now. I came in 2 days ago. So I have an observation. When I was in Jerusalem, that was in August, September, just like we studied about Rabbi Akiva, I found that there are so many learning centers every corner in Jerusalem where they are learning Torah. I feel I attended 2 of such studies, and there is so much commitment to teach Torah in several of those yeshivas. So I find that it has no age. It's a lifelong learning from what I saw in Jerusalem, and it's very inspiring. And I saw myself as inadequate and that I don't know anything at all. When I saw the zeal with which Torah is taught in every corner in Jerusalem. And so it's very encouraging. And so it helps me to appreciate what you are doing for us on this platform by taking all the effort to teach us every week. For me, without this learning, I wouldn't have had any opportunity to know what I know at the moment. So thank you very much for your help to us.
You're welcome. רב שמואל, אני שמעתי אותו מקוטע. אתה רוצה רגע להגיד לי במשפט מה בדיוק הוא אמר? אני לא יודע, האינטרנט שלי
הוא דיבר בהרחבה על התמדה שהוא ראה בישיבות כשהוא היה בארץ בביקור בספטמבר, ומאוד התרגש מהנכונות של האנשים בלמידה.
אוקיי. Yeah, you're more than right. It is true. Okay, we have people in the yeshivot when they're sitting down, and they can sit down for years like that with a lot of dedication and a lot of energy, sitting down day after day after day for a very long time, for sometimes even 16 and 17 hours a day of learning and learning and learning. And I will tell you, I met today someone that is related with people from South Korea. And one of the things that they want very much is to learn the Bible, learn the Babylon Talmud also, to become very inspired and very, with a lot of abilities, of smartness, like the Jewish people. What they don't understand is how much effort and time and dedication people are putting inside of learning those things. It is with a lot of effort, and people are doing it from very young age, sometimes from the age of 9, 10, until the age of 25 or 30. A lot of hours of the day, learning and learning and learning. This is part of being connected with God, is learning the words of what He said to us. It's not learning the books, because it's more learning from people, but this is a different issue that we need to discuss, to explain. I will explain this a bit next time, that I will speak about Rabbi.
Well, for sure, yeah. Understanding the precedence behind every case makes the wisdom come alive. It's what gives that das in our lives, rather than just think of a moral response, because there's ways that seem right to us that are not, unless you understand the precedence behind the discussions and the debates that went back and forth. It's very, very hard to grasp hold of exactly what the point or the difference in a situation might be. And then to be able to apply it in real-time living is the hard thing. And this is what I like to encourage all B'nai Noach to do, to make the world a better place in every area that you live. You've got to apply the wisdom of the Torah that seeps into you like a tea bag or something. If it gets through in any degree, you got to be able to put it into application, right? We study in order to do, and that makes the world a better place for sure, if you're letting that light of Torah continue to shine like a mirror or reflection. Let your life be one that does that. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Rabbi?
By the way,
Goldberg?
I'll just give you a very brief story that occurred to me 3.5 hours ago. One with a bit of a smile related to what Collins was talking about. I was on my way home from downtown, and in Jerusalem it was pouring rain today in the afternoon, really pouring. And there was a huge traffic jam. And I had 4 people in the car, all of them different than my necessarily thinking. So what did I do in the traffic jam? I gave a Torah talk for 15 minutes in the car for all the people there to keep the time together. That's what we did. And when it was over, it was already 2 minutes away from home. And they said, besides, thank you for being in the car, thank you for what you were saying. Said, it was my pleasure. We were all together. That's exactly what it says in the Deuteronomy 6, that you shall be learning when you're on your way. So we're on our way together. That's what we did. Today, with the technology that you can hear a lecture wherever you are at all times, it makes your quality of life better. I mean, the 15 minutes I would have been in the traffic jam anyhow. So instead of becoming nervous and impatient and whatever, it was used for quality time. What can I tell you? This is true, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Don't let a moment go by. I mean, the whole of Torah is so that we totally grip the awe of Hashem, and in that awesome understanding of His greatness, that it just motivates you to share it, and the opportunities are out there if you just you know, everywhere you go, whatever you do, there's just opportunity. Yeah. So, Bart, anything from you? You're pretty quiet in there today.
I'm listening. I'm learning.
Oh, we appreciate you, Bart. How about Angelica? She's been sitting there quiet. No, she's giving me the, okay. Angela, Mike, you guys good?
Good.
Yes, when I was thinking and listening about people and Torah, you start off and it's this lovely book and you open it and read it and you think you know what it means. You've read it, and in everyday language you think, okay, I get that, I understand it. Then you look at the words and you realize that means something different, and it changes what you've just read, and you're peeling a layer off, because then you learn something more that adds on to that, and it's changed it again. So you peel another layer off, and you're slowly really getting down to something that it means something that really doesn't relate to the words that you read in your English language. It's totally different. Then you have to learn the Hebrew to appreciate what you've actually read. And even now, 15 years later, I'm still peeling these layers off to learn even more. And I think it will be like that till the very day I die. There is still more to learn, and it's still fascinating. It holds you and it takes a good grip of you. And no matter how much you try, you keep having to come back to it. You can't leave it because it's got hold of you now. And that's how Torah is. Once it gets you and it changes you, it's an incredible way to live.
When you think about it, like Rabbi Goldberg was talking today about the uniqueness of the human soul a little bit, and when you think about the soul behind our eyes, I mean, we see things, but our soul is there, right, behind the scenes in part of us, right, and it's that soul that is that Hashem breathed into the nostrils of Adam, and that still remains with us, and that wants to cleave to the source for sure. And when people realize that our souls are almost never satisfied, we want to get closer, we want to know more, we want to understand, and we're always looking for opportunities and ways, but you got to put it into practice in everyday life in order to grow more, for sure, because the lessons aren't truly understood unless you experience it and live the lesson that you've learned, and the depth is there. As long as your soul is behind the eyes, all your days, like you're saying, Angela, for sure, all your days, you want to get closer and cleave and learn more of that infinite vastness of the greatness and awe of Hashem, in order the purpose service of Hashem to reflect it into the world. And we're just so grateful that the Hebrew people are taking the time out of their very busy lives to share the light of Torah as Hashem has passed it down to them in order to make the world a better place and ameliorate or amend the wickedness that is out there. If people would just understand what is wicked and turn from it, and then implement ways that are positive, it has positive effect. It's just logical. Does anybody else have anything to say? Solveig, so good to have you with us. It's been a while since we've had you live on in the Zoom room, but how have you been, and how is everything in Germany?
Well, it's a little bit difficult here at the moment. because there's a lot of protests, pro-Palestine protests, and that's difficult, I think.
Be strong. We're strong here in Israel, so you need to be strong there in Germany.
Yes, I will do so.
Fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely, totally be strong. It's one of those things. You will be. But last week I have 3 sons. Last week the other son called, the second son called and said, "You know what, Mom, the stuff that I hear about Israel, I definitely understand now about the one God." And I'm like, yes, I was happy to hear that. So now I have 2 sons, 1 more to go. Anyways, Hashem knows. So be encouraged.
Good news. Yeah, good to hear.
Positive thinking.
Opportunities are out there, folks. You just have to have your eyes open and be alert and understand the light of Hashem and apply it for sure. Well, on that note, it sounds like we're going to continue with this class next week. We're going to hear Rabbi Goldberg. You're off next week, so Rabbi Hirschler, you're going to do a class next week. You're going to open the Zoom meeting, and we'll help you out from there.
Absolutely. Yes,
All
I
right.
will send you on. I'll send you on WhatsApp the subject matter later on during the week with the basic sources. Pleasure.
Okay, and I'll make sure I got them all set up and ready. So it sounds like that's a wrap for today's class. We will be back with next week with another Genesis class, but it's going to be hosted by Rabbi Shmuel Hirschler. We look forward to that. Exciting. I will be back in about an hour and 12 minutes with Rabbi Carmi Ingber, who's still in Israel, and our friends down in Houston, Texas, in the Nativ group Zoom room. We'll be doing that broadcast here shortly. Always good to be with you, Rabbi Goldberg, and we keep praying for your wellness there in Israel and your whole family, and you as well, Rabbi Hirschler. Always a joy and to see the regulars, Angela and Mike, Angelica, Bart, Collins, and it was nice to see you here today, Solvig, again. We hope you'll come back again, and all those of you out there on YouTube. Lara's been commenting. She had lots to add when it came to what was his name? Nebuzaradan was the right-hand commander for Nebuchadnezzar. He apparently had killed about 200,000 Jews before he had converted. And so you can just see why that's such a story. But we look forward to hearing more of that. So we'll be back with more from Rabbi Goldberg in 2 weeks, but we will have a class next week with Rabbi Shmuel Hirschler. So till then, everybody have a wonderful day. We'll be back in about an hour and 10 minutes with Rabbi Ingber.
Wonderful week.
Right.
Lisette, I will do what you asked me to do. It's okay. We'll organize it. Bye, everybody. Have a great week. See you all. Bye.
You too.